Major military upheavals rarely begin with gunfire, but with an unusual silence. This time, the flashpoint is Natanz, Iran's strategic nuclear heart. At 1400 Greenwich Mean Time, the IAEA in Vienna recorded that all surveillance camera data from the deep underground vaults of the facility simultaneously vanished. This was no technical glitch. It was a deliberate act of blinding. Just 24 hours later, the crisis erupted. SIGINT reports from the CIA and Mossad confirmed that Iran had enriched uranium to 92%, weapons-grade level. Tensions peaked when a leaked video on the dark web showed engineers integrating a suspected fission core into a Khorramshahr-4 missile. At Isfahan, a nuclear trigger was believed to have been formed, and the regional situation entered its most dangerous phase in history. In Washington, the atmosphere was thick with pressure. Top Pentagon image analysts and nuclear engineers gathered to analyze the content and assess the authenticity of information spreading across the internet. Every pixel was dissected, and every seismic tremor was simulated on supercomputers to cross-reference seismic data with the latest satellite imagery. As the information was verified by successive groups of experts, it became clear that this was not misinformation. This meant two scenarios were imminent: accepting a nuclear Iran or activating a preemptive strike with the risk of total war. In a final effort to prevent catastrophe, a stern 12-hour ultimatum was issued by the U.S. president. The sole, non-negotiable demand: Iran must immediately suspend all activities at its critical nuclear facilities. However, the response was a defiant refusal from Tehran, accompanied by the activation of their supreme right to self-defense. As the countdown hit 0000, the silent hammer order was officially sanctioned, opening the most breathless 72 hours in contemporary geopolitical history. Immediately after the order was issued, the stillness of the Gulf waters was shattered by a massive troop movement. The U.S. officially activated carrier strike groups and surface fleets that had been positioned at strategic locations for weeks. This was the activation of an oceanic chessboard, meticulously calculated to surround and paralyze the enemy's entire retaliatory capacity. At the heart of the deployment is the Fifth Fleet, featuring the formidable presence of the supercarrier USS Gerald R. Ford. Moving deep into a strategic position near the Strait of Hormuz, this 100,000-ton steel monster becomes an impenetrable mobile airbase. Below the flight deck, under the eerie glow of red lights signaling the highest state of combat readiness, elite pilots and technicians perform final checks on the fifth-generation F-35C Lightning II fighters. Every line of code running through the control systems and every inspection of the stealth coding is a preparation for precision surgical strikes deep into enemy territory. Meanwhile, the true threat remains hidden beneath the ocean's surface. Strategic Ohio-class nuclear submarines, SSGN, quietly rise to periscope depth to establish satellite links. Inside the cramped silent control rooms, technicians operate the vertical launch systems with absolute precision. They are programming target coordinates for 154 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles, and with the ability to change targets mid-flight and a range that reaches every corner of Iranian territory, this is the stealth sword, ready to strike radar stations and command centers within minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're going to 3. All right, bye.
Shadowing the entire theater of war is an invisible yet dense defense network. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers simultaneously activate the Aegis Baseline 10 radar system, the pinnacle of modern missile defense technology. Through Cooperative Engagement Capability, CEC, American warships no longer operate in isolation, but as a single unified entity. Every airborne object from tiny kamikaze drones to long-range ballistic missiles is locked within this integrated surveillance web. The U.S. has not just deployed a fleet, they have erected a multi-layered steel shield ready to shatter any counterattack before it even leaves the launch pad. While the U.S. fleets deploy at sea, a massive logistics and defense backbone has been established on land. Operation Silent Hammer cannot function in isolation. It requires tight coordination from Gulf allies. Saudi Arabia and Israel have officially entered the fray as strategic shields, turning the entire Arabian Peninsula into a solid military springboard. They stand ready to support the lightning strikes launched from the west. The most critical support lies in opening up vital airspace corridors. C-46, Pegasus refueling tankers, and E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft begin establishing continuous patrol orbits over the Arabian skies. These are the gas stations and eyes in the sky, allowing American fighter squadrons to maintain a 24/7 presence without landing. This exerts a massive psychological pressure on the enemy's air defense systems. The slightest movement from missile launchers deep inside Iranian territory is detected by the long-range radars of the E-3 Sentry. Inside dark rooms filled with dozens of digital screens at the Combined Air Operations Center, American and Arab liaison officers work shoulder to shoulder in a breathless atmosphere. Decades of common military language and exercise scenarios are now being put into practice. The local geographical expertise of Arab officers, combined with American battlefield management technology, has created a seamless command brain. Every deployment order is calculated to optimize the safety of sensitive civilian infrastructure. On the ground, a firewall has been erected to counter asymmetric strikes. Saudi Arabian Patriot PAC-3 missile defense systems are densely deployed along the eastern border, pointing directly toward the strait. Their objective is clear: protecting strategic oil fields and energy infrastructure from kamikaze drones or low-flying cruise missiles. These are the cards Iran often plays to distract and exert economic pressure. The presence of PAC-3 is not just a military shield, but a confirmation of a steadfast alliance ready to protect the global economic lifeline against any threat. When the ultimatum ends, the campaign does not open with explosives, but with a devastating electromagnetic sweep. High above EA-18, G-Growler electronic warfare aircraft coordinate with Champ high-power microwave missiles to open fire. Instead of physical destruction, they emit powerful microwave pulses that silently fry every electronic circuit board in Iran's radar systems and national power grid in an instant. In less than 30 minutes, Tehran's entire defense system is completely blinded. Next comes the decisive phase, the deep strike. Exploiting the newly created gap in air defenses, the ghosts of the B-21 Raider quietly penetrate enemy airspace. With the world's most advanced stealth design, the B-21 requires no massive escort fleet. They fly solo into the enemy's core to execute their ultimate mission. Each B-21 carries the monster GBU-57 MOP, a 14-ton penetrator bomb capable of burrowing through hundreds of meters of reinforced concrete before detonating. Parallel to America's raw power, Israel acts as the sharp surgical blade in this operation. Beyond providing precise human target data from the Mossad network, the Israeli Air Force deploys F-35 Yadir squadrons for close-range electronic suppression. Most critically elite Israeli cyber units trigger sleeper malware. This paralyzes centrifuge control systems at nuclear facilities just moments before the American MOP bombs strike. This ensures a total neutralization from both the inside and the outside. Following the strike, key Iranian sites like Isfahan and Fordow are eradicated at the root. Thanks to an ultra-high-pressure implosion mechanism deep underground, the nuclear infrastructure is crushed without leaving any surface radioactive fallout. The U.S. has performed a perfect military surgery, extracting Tehran's nuclear ambitions without causing an environmental catastrophe. After 72 hours of bombardment, the U.S. declares the mission complete and begins its withdrawal. Satellites suddenly detect heat signatures from the Zagros Mountains, home to missile cities that the MOP bombs could not reach. Tehran has not collapsed. They have patiently waited for the coalition to lower its guard. An explosion tears through the water as a U.S. destroyer is struck by a supercavitating torpedo traveling at 200 knots. Immediately, Iran reveals its trump card, the Ghost AI drones. These units operate independently, requiring no remote signals, rendering U.S. jamming completely useless. In response, Saudi Arabia immediately declares a national emergency as its strategic oil fields face a direct threat from AI drones. Rearguard support has now transformed into a struggle for survival on the front lines. The Gulf skies light up once again with the streaks of anti-aircraft fire. Operation Silent Hammer, once thought over, now opens a new chapter. A brutal war of attrition. This fight leaves us with one question. Is Operation Silent Hammer the solution to prevent nuclear disaster? Or is it the fuse for an endless Middle Eastern war? What are your thoughts on this? If this analysis was helpful, like and share it now. Subscribe and hit the bell for hourly updates. The situation is heating up. Thank you for standing with New Era. We will continue to bring you the latest strategic developments.